Hey everyone, it's Joy here for Honeybee Stamps. Today I created two beautiful Christmas cards using the beautiful Elegant Floral Frames stamp, coordinating stencil, and coordinating die. So let's get started on these. I will be using the Winter Gems A2 cover plate, and then here is the Elegant Floral Frames stamp set, the coordinating stencil. This is a 3-piece stencil, and then you have a die. I'm going to start by stamping my images on some Neenah cardstock in my MISTI, and I am using Honeybee Stamps metallic gold ink. This is one of my new favorite products of I think the whole year. I just love it. It's just so much fun to use, and there's also a silver one. I use gold because I love gold everything, so that is my favorite. Then, because we're making ornaments, I am using the little ornament hanger, which obviously you don't have to use this. I like that you can go either way with this. But I am going to stamp that 2 times, and then we're going to use the coordinating stencils to give this some life. Now, you don't have to use the stencils. You could just color this with whatever color medium you would like, and that would be just as beautiful, but we're going to go with the stencils this time. There are 3 stencils, 2 for the flowers and 1 for the leaves, and I'm just going to start with this flower here first. I'm going to ink blend with a pink ink. I will go a little bit darker for the first petals and then a little bit lighter for the other ones, just to give it kind of that 2-tone effect. So I'm lining this up. It does have like the little images as registration marks, so you can line everything up and then ink blend the areas that are open. So again, I am starting with kind of a darker pink, or maybe this will be this is the lighter pink, excuse me. And then when I bring in the second stencil, I'm just going to use that same ink color and then just ink blend a little heavier. I won't tap off so much of the excess ink. And like I said, this is going to give us a 2-toned look, and I'm just making sure where I'm feeling where some of the open areas are to make sure I'm getting it correct. And then we can go on to the next flower, which is above, and that is a poinsettia. I don't know what this flower is, but we are going to make Christmas cards out of it nonetheless. Now I'm going to line up the poinsettia. I am using a red ink. Again, I'm going to do the same thing. I will go darker and lighter, but with that same ink color, just to give it a 2-toned look, which adds just a little bit more interest. So let me bring in the next stencil, even though I was trying to figure out which one it was. Line that up, and then I can finish off that little flower. Then there's the 1 leaf stencil, and on this bottom one, something I noticed, and maybe it's just on my stencil, is that the 2 main leaves by the flower, the one on the left, the stencil is not open. So I cannot ink blend it through a stencil. So I just decided to kind of tape it off and use the one that's open and kind of line it up. And then I brought in a paintbrush to kind of fix it, and you guys will see how that works. So I'm not really sure why that is that way, but maybe I just got a little bit of a funny stencil. So I'm coloring that one in, and then I'm trying to figure out off camera, why is that not lined up? So I masked off the flower. I'm just kind of lining this other leaf up the best that I can. And when I peel this back, you'll see there's a little bit of white area. So I just brought in a paintbrush, dipped it right into the ink, and then just kind of painted there. And I did the same thing on this other leaf because I totally forgot to color it in, even though that was open through the stencil. That was the only problem I had with my stencil, so that's how I fixed it. Let's do the leaves up at the top. I did 2 colors of greens for both of these, which I just thought added, a good amount of interest. So it's not just the same green color. It has just a little bit of a different tone, so that looks like there is the different greenery of the images that you see here. And I am using small blender brushes to help me get into those little areas, which is perfect. I'm going to come back to this lighter green and just blend that out. Let me line that up one more time because I did have it a little bit off, and then we can use the coordinating dies to die cut this out. I think these images are gorgeous, and these dies are fantastic. So you could just use this solid die and have that background. You could paint that or color that or leave it white, but I opted to die cut out that white area because I want to add some vellum behind these to make them look like they're frosty ornaments. So again, I'm going to use both dies to die cut this out, but you only have to use one. It's totally up to you, which I really like that there is a choice as far as how you want to die cut your images. So I'll run that through the die cut machine. I'm also going to die cut the little hangers. Then I took those solid back pieces and die cut one each from Vellum, because again, I want this to have the frosty look. And this will adhere behind the already die cut images that you can see above. That centerpiece is already die cut out and it looks fantastic. So I'm going to run that through the die cut machine and then we can get those glued together. I'm going to use some liquid glue, kind of sparingly, especially on that thinner area, because I don't want it to squish out and then you'd be able to see it through the vellum. Then I can just adhere that to the back, make sure everything is lined up, and then we have this beautiful frosted ornament. And I am going to flip these around. So you could have it at the orientation above, but I'm going to flip it to where the flowers are on top, which I think is so pretty. This teardropped one is my absolute favorite. Then I want to adhere the little pieces to the top of your ornament. So a little bit of liquid glue there, and then I'm just going to lay those ornaments on top. And then I can set that aside to dry. So for the background, we're going to use the Winter Gems A2 cover plate. I just have some really light aquamarine cardstock from my stash. I want that to be the background. If you don't have that kind of color, you could obviously ink blend your background and get a same kind of look. Then from the Bitty Buzzwords holiday stamp set, I'm going to stamp the sentiments. One will say Happy Holiday. The other one will say Merriest Christmas. I'm also going to stamp some more sentiments. I thought that I was going to put on the front, but they actually end up going on the inside of the card. And I'm going to stamp this with the metallic gold ink. It's so, so pretty. And then this has coordinating dies for the Bitty Buzzwords, not for like the Happy or the Merriest. I will just trim those out with my paper trimmer. But for the holiday and the Christmas, there is coordinating dies. So that is really fantastic. And then here's the other sentiments that are going to go on the inside. And they say, it's the most wonderful time of the year. And then the other one says, let me just open up the card. May your days be merry and bright. So fun, fun little sentiments. So here are those coordinating dies I talked about. I'm just going to tape those in place with some low tack tape. And then I can put that through my die cut machine. And now I have my embossed background, because that's what that cover plate did, was kind of emboss it. I did trim that down about 1/4 inch on all sides. I'm adding it to a white mat, and then that will also be adhered to a white A2 size card base. So when you look at the card, you're going to see that you have a double white mat, which I think is really pretty. I want foam tape behind my ornaments because I want those to pop up for 2 reasons. I love dimension, and secondly, when you pop up with vellum, it really kind of blocks out that background, where if I had it flat against the cardstock, you would see that colored cardstock more. So when it's popped up with dimension, the vellum looks more frosty, less see-through, and so that's why I like that. I'm going to offset these onto the sides of my cardstock panel instead of centering them. I thought that would be really, really pretty. And I'm going to go on different sides, and then I can just push that down and adhere it, and then we can get our sentiments in place and then do some finishing details on this. So I want these popped up to the same height. So I'm going to add a little bit of foam tape on the areas that will be touching the background cardstock, not on the areas that will be touching the ornament. That will just have regular adhesive to it. And then that can just slightly go over. And I was kind of deciding where I wanted that other sentiment, but I just did not like the way it looked. So I decided to put that in the middle of the card, or excuse me, in the inside of the card, not the middle of the card, you guys. I'm just going to line up this merriest sentiment, and then we can go on to the next one. I'm adding just a tiny bit of liquid glue to hold that one in place, but look at how pretty that is. I'm just loving how this is coming together. Let's work on the next one. This is going to say Happy Holiday. And I'm going to put this in place doing the exact same thing with some foam tape that's only going to be touching the background, and then a little bit of adhesive behind the other part so it can attach to the ornament itself. Using my tweezers to put these in place really is helpful. And then we're going to add some Make It Merry red gems on this one. So these are the gem stickers. And then on the other one, I'm going to use the holiday pearl stickers, and I'm going to use the pink for that. But look at how pretty that red is. I just think it's so stunning. And I love these colors against that light aquamarine background. And then of course having that A2 cover plate on the background just gives it more interest, and it just makes it look really delicate and pretty. So I love that. Okay, let's do the holiday pearls. I'm going to do that light pink and kind of lay them out pretty much the same as the other one for the most part. And then these will be adhered to a white A2 size card base. And so when I show you here in a second, you'll see that double white mat that I was talking about. Let's add those sentiments to the inside, which is not something I normally do. I usually actually leave the inside of my cards blank so I can add something to it later if I want. But since I had these, I might as well use them, right? Okay, look at how pretty this is, you guys. I love these. These are such a gorgeous thing. And like this one, you definitely could use for any time of the year because it's not a poinsettia, but look at how pretty that is. I love how these turned out. Thank you guys so very much for stopping by and watching. I hope that you feel inspired by this project, and I hope you guys have a really wonderful Christmas, and I'll be back soon with another video. Bye.